The person pulling up in that BMW? $47 in their checking account. Your coworker's designer bag? It costs more than her entire emergency fund. The guy at the bar bragging about his investment portfolio? More credit card debt than actual investments. And that influencer flaunting a luxury lifestyle? 3 months behind on rent. A recent study found that nearly half of Americans with credit cards carry a balance month to month. Yet luxury car sales keep climbing. Designer brand revenue keeps growing. The gap between what people actually have and what they're willing to spend has never been wider. Welcome to the era of fake rich. Americans now owe $1.28 trillion in credit card debt. The average household carries over $100,000 in total debt. Yet parking lots are full of luxury vehicles. Malls overflow with designer shopping bags. And social media is packed with people flaunting wealth they simply don't have. Something doesn't add up. Here's what's actually happening. A massive number of people have figured out how to look wealthy while being financially hollow. They've mastered the appearance of success while building absolutely nothing underneath. Project the image. Ignore the foundation. Real wealth whispers. Fake wealth screams. Once you know the signs, you'll spot fake rich everywhere. More importantly, you'll avoid becoming fake rich yourself, because these patterns don't just look foolish. They actively destroy your ability to build actual wealth. Here are the 10 signs someone is pretending to be rich. The first sign is the entry-level luxury trap. They buy the cheapest version of the most expensive brand. The base model BMW. The logo belt from Gucci. The starter bag from Louis Vuitton. They want the badge without the budget. Walk through any parking lot and you'll spot it immediately. A bare-bones Mercedes with manual seats and no navigation. An Audi with the smallest engine and 0 upgrades. These cars exist because manufacturers know exactly what's happening. People want the emblem on the hood, not the actual driving experience. Here's what's interesting. A fully loaded Honda Accord costs roughly the same as a base model luxury sedan. Better features, more comfortable interior, superior reliability, lower maintenance costs. But the person chasing status doesn't want a Honda. They want strangers to see the 3-pointed star. And it doesn't stop at the sticker price. That entry-level luxury car brings luxury maintenance costs, premium gas, higher insurance, expensive repairs. The math gets brutal. Someone pretending to be rich spends 20 to 30% of their income on looking wealthy. Someone actually wealthy spends 2 to 5% on those same categories. That difference compounds over decades into hundreds of thousands of dollars that never get invested. The truly wealthy buy flashy items after building substantial wealth. The fake rich buy the status symbol first and hope wealth follows. It rarely does. The second sign is constant money talk. This is the person who can't stop steering every conversation toward income, investments, or deals they're working on, always in a way that makes them look successful. You could be discussing pizza toppings and they find the angle. Oh yeah, I used to eat that before I started making real money. You mention a vacation and suddenly they're explaining their travel reward strategy. You share a friend's good news and they pivot to their own achievements within 2 sentences. People genuinely secure about their finances don't need to constantly remind everyone how well they're doing. The reminder is for themselves, not you. It's external validation filling an internal void. Watch for one specific pattern. They talk about money they're about to make, never money they've actually made. I've got a huge deal closing next month. Once this investment pays off, everything changes. I'm working on something massive. Always future tense. Because the present doesn't match the image. Another tell is confusing revenue with profit. Someone brags about their business doing $500,000 when their actual take-home was $50,000. Still decent money, but not the flex they're selling. The exaggeration reveals the insecurity. The truly wealthy tend to be private about money. Not because they're secretive, because they have nothing to prove. The third sign is designer items that cost more than their bank balance. A $5,000 bag with $2,000 in savings. A luxury watch on the wrist of someone with a maxed-out credit card. This happens constantly. And the purchase isn't a celebration of success. It's a costume for success that hasn't arrived yet. There's an old rule worth remembering. If you can't afford to buy it twice, you can't actually afford it. If a single purchase represents 2 or 3 months of income, that's not wealth. That's living dangerously above your means while manufacturing the illusion of prosperity. I've seen people finance designer items, paying interest on a handbag, making monthly payments on a watch. The item depreciates while the debt accumulates. By the time it's paid off, they've spent 30% more than the sticker price on something worth half what they originally paid. People with actual wealth rarely make purchases that jeopardize their financial foundation. Their luxury items represent a tiny fraction of their net worth, not a gut punch to their monthly budget. The fourth sign is the constant one-upper. Whatever you've done, they've done something bigger. Whatever you bought, they bought something more expensive. Whatever you accomplished, their version was more impressive. You get a promotion, they got a bigger one. You went on a nice vacation, they spent 2 weeks in the south of France business class. You bought a new watch. They explain why theirs has a superior mechanical movement. Picture this at a dinner party. Someone shares that they just closed on their first home. Before anyone can congratulate them, the one-upper jumps in. That's great, but you really should have waited for something bigger. When I bought my first property, the excitement drains from the room. The person who achieves something meaningful now feels small. This isn't normal conversation, it's competition. Every interaction becomes a contest they must win. The psychology is transparent. One-upping comes from insecurity, not confidence. Someone genuinely successful can celebrate your wins without feeling threatened. They don't need to redirect attention because their self-worth doesn't depend on being superior in every exchange. Real wealth allows someone to be happy for others. Fake wealth requires constant comparison and conquest. The fifth sign is social media performance. The curated feed of luxury experiences, expensive purchases, and lifestyle content designed to project wealth whether or not that wealth actually exists. If someone's money is real, they don't need to document every moment for strangers online. But for the fake rich, wealth only exists when it's validated by likes and comments. The experience isn't complete until it's posted. Here's the uncomfortable truth about social media. Showing off gets more engagement than showing discipline. A spend $1,000 at the mall with me video outperforms watch me add $1,000 to my emergency fund. The first feels aspirational. The second feels boring. This creates a perverse incentive. People learn that projecting wealth generates attention regardless of whether the wealth is real. So they perform prosperity while building nothing. Nobody posts themselves doing dishes. Nobody films their budget spreadsheet sessions. Nobody shares the Saturday they spend at home saving money. Social media shows highlights, not reality. Meanwhile, actually wealthy people often maintain minimal social media presence. They don't need the validation, and they certainly don't need strangers knowing their financial business. The sixth sign is leasing luxury cars. This deserves its own category because it's become so normalized that people don't even see it as a red flag anymore. When you lease a vehicle, you're paying for the steepest depreciation years, the most expensive period of a car's life, and then handing it back. You pay the difference between the purchase price and the residual value, plus interest, taxes, and fees. Then you return it and start over with a fresh lease. This cycle never ends. Lease, return, lease, return. Perpetual payments. Zero equity. Ever. Someone who leases continuously for 20 years has made hundreds of thousands of dollars in payments and owns absolutely nothing at the end. Leasing is one of the most expensive ways to have a car over a lifetime, but it lets people afford the monthly payment on vehicles they couldn't actually purchase. That's the entire appeal. They look successful. The payment fits the budget. What doesn't show is the zero equity and a lifetime of endless payments. If you genuinely want a luxury vehicle, buying used makes far more financial sense. But buying used doesn't give you the new car smell and the pristine badge that fake rich requires. The seventh sign is counterfeit goods. If someone is carrying fake designer items, they're literally advertising that they're pretending to be something they're not. People who actually know luxury goods can spot counterfeits across the room. The stitching is wrong. The leather quality is off. The logo placement is slightly incorrect. The hardware feels cheap. Here's the irony. Counterfeit goods aren't even that cheap. A decent knockoff bag might cost $200 to $300. For that same money, you could buy a genuinely well-made bag from a brand that isn't imitating anyone else. Real leather, quality construction, original design, just without the famous logo. But that's not what the fake rich want. They don't care about quality or craftsmanship. They care about the perception that comes with the logo. And the worst part? The people they're trying to impress can tell it's fake. They've paid money to carry around evidence of their own pretense. The 8 sign is constantly promoting get-rich-quick schemes. Not the obvious scams. Those are easy to spot. The slightly faster-than-normal schemes that sound almost plausible. Forex trading, drop shipping, crypto day trading, multi-level marketing. Some revolutionary system that's going to change everything if you just get in now. A tiny fraction of people succeed at these. The vast majority lose money. But the fake rich love talking about these opportunities because they live in future tense. They're not discussing what they've built. They're discussing what they're about to build. The potential justifies the current lack of results. Here's how it usually plays out. Someone discovers a new opportunity and goes all in. Talks about it constantly. Tries to recruit friends. Projects massive confidence. 6 months later, they've lost money, but they never mention that part. They've already moved on to the next opportunity. Equally confident, equally vocal. The pattern repeats every year or two. A trail of failed ventures they never acknowledge. Always chasing the next thing that's definitely going to work this time. Real wealth is built slowly and boringly over years. It rarely comes from turning $5,000 into $1 million in 12 months. But slow and boring doesn't match the fake rich identity. They need something dramatic, even if it only exists in their projections. The 9th sign is condescending money advice. Different from one-upping, this person actively criticizes your financial decisions and tells you what you should be doing instead. You mention you're happy with your apartment. They say you should have upgraded by now. You're driving a reliable used car. They question why you haven't financed something newer. You're saving aggressively. They tell you that money should be invested in whatever they're invested in. The advice is always unsolicited, and it always points toward whatever choices they've made, regardless of whether those choices make sense for your situation. Here's what's actually happening. They need to justify their own decisions. If you're succeeding with a different approach, it threatens their narrative. So they criticize your path to validate theirs. Your financial situation is different from everyone else's. Your goals differ. Your risk tolerance differs. Your timeline differs. Someone who genuinely understands money knows that different strategies work for different people. The fake rich need everyone around them to confirm they're doing things correctly because deep down, they're not sure they are. The 10th and final sign is simply overdoing it. Too many logos. Too much jewelry. Too strong cologne. A walking advertisement for luxury brands rather than a person who happens to own nice things. They've seen wealthy people in movies and decided to cosplay the aesthetic. Everything screams money. Nothing whispers it. Here's something worth noting. Look at photos of actual billionaires on ordinary days, not at galas or press events, just living their lives. Mark Zuckerberg wears the same gray t-shirt constantly. Warren Buffett drives a modest car and lives in the same house he bought decades ago. Many of the wealthiest people you'd pass on the street without a second glance. They have nothing to prove. Their identity isn't tied to what strangers think of their appearance. They could buy anything, so they don't feel the need to buy everything. The fake rich operate from the opposite psychology. They feel they have everything to prove. So every item becomes a statement. Every accessory becomes evidence. And the louder the display, the more desperate the attempt. When every single item someone wears is designed to signal wealth, that signal becomes noise. It reads as desperate, not successful. The effort shows. Actual wealth tends to be understated because it doesn't need to try. Real wealth isn't about what you show. It's about what you've built. The freedom to make choices without financial pressure. The security of knowing you can handle emergencies. The compound growth happening quietly in accounts nobody else sees. Fake wealth is a performance that gets more expensive over time. The luxury car needs maintaining. The designer wardrobe needs updating. The lifestyle needs sustaining. Every month, more money flows toward maintaining an image while nothing flows toward building substance. The person pretending to be rich often ends up poorer than they started. The effort of appearing wealthy prevents the accumulation of actual wealth. They're running on a treadmill that speeds up the longer they stay on it. Here's what separates real from fake at the deepest level. The fake rich optimize for how things look to others. Every financial decision passes through one filter. Will this impress people? Will this signal status? The actually wealthy optimize for how things work for themselves. Does this purchase make sense given my goals? Does this decision move me toward freedom? One approach builds wealth. The other bleeds it. The next time you see someone projecting prosperity, look closer. And more importantly, check yourself. Are you making financial decisions based on what genuinely serves your future? Or are you spending to maintain an image that's slowly bankrupting you? Real wealth whispers. It doesn't need anyone to notice. It doesn't require validation. It exists whether or not anyone else sees it. The goal isn't to look rich. The goal is to actually be rich. One path is expensive, exhausting, and leads nowhere. The other builds quietly, until one day you realize you have options most people only pretend to have. Choose carefully.